All right. Shopping. We're starting off with this very strong one, which is very good because, I don't know. I don't know about you, but we are all in some way, shape or form shoppers. I don't know if you shop like me, where if you've had 2 champagnes like we've had before, you should probably leave your credit card at my seat, which I have. But I'm joined here up on the seat with 2 people that know a lot more about shopping than I do, and we're going to talk about the future of it. So I've got Holly Cardew, as you know, founder and chief executive officer of Cardew, and my longtime colleague, Nikki Chowdhury, digital audience lead for Vogue Australia. So we might start with you, Holly, first. For those of us that don't know what Cardew is, can you give us a little spiel, a bit of rundown about what Cardew is and what they do?
Sure. Oh, is this on? Yes. Yes.
Yep.
Great. Hi, I'm Holly. I'm the founder of a tech company called Cardew. We are like your ultimate shopping wish list, where you can save any item from any store into lists. You can curate your lists, and then you can track prices when something goes on sale, when it's out of stock, when it's back in stock, and track any product on the internet.
Cool. And then sort of build, and obviously this is built on a very sort of new way that we like to shop, and all of us like to browse things on the internet. How would you say that you've observed shopping behaviour evolve since before Cardew and now that sort of Cardew has been up and running?
My background is actually really in B2B software for e-commerce merchants. I have apps in the Shopify App Store, and what I've noticed over the time was that tools and software were always built for merchants. And during the pandemic, I actually built a shoppable TikTok feed, and I realized that shopping really needed to be brought to the consumer, and the consumer needed to be able to make the decisions on what they wanted to purchase versus the merchant pushing the product that they wanted you to buy. So we've really moved to personalization, I think, and then also social shopping. I think it was interesting. I actually did check my facts today because I was like, I feel like social shopping is something we've been talking about for years and years and years, but actually TikTok shopping still isn't really a thing, and Instagram shopping only launched in 2020, so that was during the pandemic, so still very, very new.
And I might pass that to Nikki as well. I mean, we don't exist quite as Vogue as a merchant, but we do exist in this sort of like intermediary point between merchants and buyers. I mean, what have you observed through your work with Vogue and that I've been privy to? What are the big changes that you've seen on your side for that as well?
This is on? Yes. So I guess sustainability is a big one, but I also think beyond that, it's kind of this value-led shopping where people aren't just buying something because it's easy to get, but because the brand actually aligns with the consumer's personal belief systems, whether that's not buying from a brand because of values that they have or ideas that they support, to actually supporting brands specifically because they have the shared value systems. And on top of that, it's once again like personalization, but also I think the social proof and how that impacts shopping. So when I went to Japan recently, which I won't shut up about, but one of the stores I walked into was Don Quixote, which is a massive beauty store. It's kind of like something between a Sephora and a Chemist Warehouse. And in front of products, they had tablets with TikTok videos of people using the products and talking about the products. And as like a tourist, I found that really effective because I didn't know what half the products were. But watching someone who looked around, my age using the product, I was like, oh, okay, so it must be good because they're using it. And I think that that's a big thing, like the social proof of products, like propels brands to the forefront of audiences a lot more than before. And I think you can see that with product areas like heatless curls, for example. Like that was not a popular product in the past and has become this kind of ubiquitous thing now for young people to wear these kind of like massive things on their head while they sleep. The morning shed, products that maybe we haven't historically used as much but are coming back into style. So like lip tints where it lasts like 48 hours. So a lot of these product areas start off as niche and then they become widely proliferated on platforms like TikTok and Instagram, and then people start using them as everyday products. I find that really interesting.
And I mean, with that sort of social but personal sort of feel, I mean, Holly, is there anything with Cardew where you can sort of see what other people are shopping or see other people's lists. I mean, there was like a carded list that you create with all the sort of things that you've got going. Is that a social thing, or is that something that sort of sits with yourself as a user?
So we actually haven't talked about it too much, so I'll let everyone know in the room. We do think about social shopping a lot at Carded. Mm-hmm. It's not where we've started. It's what we hear a lot from users, like, can I see someone else's list? Can I follow a list? Mm. So people are definitely interested. I think people are more so interested in their friends or like smaller creators versus a celebrity. They don't come to us and say, I want to see what's on Kim Kardashian's list. They're like, can I see... We have a creator who actually used to work at Vogue, is Zara Wong, and like everyone wants to see what's on Zara's list. Mm. So I think it's like the smaller creators or your friends is who you want to whose list you want to see. Mm-hmm. And so I think social commerce, like I think we all have chats about what you're buying. You message a friend, you message a family member. Hey, do you think I should buy this? What are you wearing to the wedding? What are you wearing to this event? And so how do we sort of take that and like be able to improve on the shopping experience for the shopper? Because at the moment that lives in WhatsApp, it lives in a Facebook group, it lives in different platforms, and it's not necessarily, you still have to send links around the internet and gather information for your friends and your family. So that's where we want to take Carded.
And I guess bouncing sort of backwards with the personalization. I mean, what's Carded doing to personalize that on the other way for the shopper like me and everyone here?
Yeah, I think the big thing that I've realized is that when you look at shopping apps, like your Afterpay or Klarna or eBay, you open up an app, any of these platforms, they feed you the product. Whereas Carded's very much about, we don't tell you what you want to buy. We will very much focus on like, you give us the links and the products that you want, and we will then surface that information to you. So we don't push any brands to you as a consumer. It's very much around, what do you want to see? What's important to you? You get deals and offers and promo codes around the product that you've saved, not just any product that's on the merchant site that the merchant wants to give you.
Totally. We might jump to the buzzword that everyone always thinks about when it comes to shopping, which is AI. Nikki, I know you have many, many pearls of wisdom when it comes to AI. And linking that back to sort of personalization, if that is driven by AI, sort of impacting what we do at Vogue and how people shop as well, what would you say the sort of role is of AI and sort of understanding and maybe even predicting these sorts of changes going forward?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many points along the supply chain where AI will help not only shoppers, but designers, merchants, everyone really. So one of the first things is being able to predict before a trend takes off. So as a brand and as a title that writes about fashion trends, this is really interesting to us. So AI is really good at looking at vast amounts of data and being able to observe patterns and pick up on patterns way before a human can observe those same trends. And right now we live in a society where trends they live and they die sometimes within 24 hours. So if you're a designer, that might be interesting to know. So if you kind of suddenly see a trend is taking off, whether or not you actually want to take stock of it and include that in a lineup, or if you want to ignore it and kind of say, well, that's a micro trend, it's not going to really survive more than maybe even half a season. So that's one part of it, being able to predict and being able to help people jump on those trends earlier. And then the second thing is how AI gets to know you specifically. So I spend a lot of time scrolling, and I don't really know if I enjoy it, scrolling endlessly on like Depop or Vestiaire or Net-a-Porter or whatever brand I'm looking at to find the exact things that I like in my size, in my colors. And AI is very good at learning what you like based on everything you've bought, what you've returned. And imagine that you go onto a website and it's kind of very quickly scans everything and is like, here are 50 items that we think you will like based on everything you've bought in the past, based on your skin color, your body type, whatever it is. So it can make the process of shopping, I think, a lot faster and a lot less of a kind of punish. Even though I love shopping, searching for the things that I really like does take time. So I think that's another big part of it. And I think lastly, for websites to jump on those trends really quickly. So sites like Temu, AliExpress, they're not really good for the environment at all, but something that they've done really well is they can pick up on a trend really fast and then put that into production really, really fast. And I think that if you're a brand that wants to do that sustainably, that's like an important piece of knowledge to have, is like maybe this product area is declining in popularity, so we won't make any more of that, so it leads to less waste and less return. So I think those are kind of the main things that I'm seeing with AI.
And I mean, I don't want to speak for everyone else in the room, but I certainly, when I'm like looking at running shoes or something, and all of a sudden every ad on every social media platform is like Hoka or Nike or something like that, and that I haven't even, gone and actively searched. I might have even thought about it or something. And I mean, there's that sort of duality between I want my data to be mine, but also I would like the easiest experience when I need to buy something. I guess, Holly, like, how do we balance that sort of desire to be quite protective of our data, but also be very comfortable with
I think it's a good question.
with AI suggesting us stuff?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question, because as a consumer, it's like, what sort of experience do you want? Like, we're going to get ads. We're going to get served things. Do we want ones that are personalized and useful to us, or do we want something that isn't? And so then that's our decision, like, how much data do we give up, or how much information do we give up? Obviously, when you're making payments on credit cards, it's great to be able to pay on Apple Pay. Guess what? They know exactly where you are, what you've purchased at what time every single day. Same with anything that we use, like the internet, phones, etc. But I think for me, I really do believe in personalization. And I think the reason why it's like annoying to get certain things like that is they actually don't know enough about you. And so you're like, actually, I've already got 5 Nike shoes. But you know what? They keep giving you an ad because they don't know that you've changed your behavior, because they only have a certain amount of information on you.
And does Cardew sort of put the, I guess, onus back in your hands? Because like, you're going through Cardew and you're sort of listing things, you're adding to your list like that, does that feed into anything that might pop up on anyone's social media?
I mean, we definitely don't provide our data to any advertising network. We do not give our data to Facebook. So yes, your data is yours. The data that we know is obviously what you put in, like in terms of the merchant and how many items on your list.
And I guess what about for sort of, we were all talking before about how we all sort of came into this with very different ways of shopping. I mean, like, I like to be sort of like quite precise, but I do like secondhand, and Nikki loves to shop vintage and sort of see what comes. And how do you see those sorts of things? Do you see them intertwining? Do you see them remaining sort of separate from one another in the next sort of 5 years of shopping?
I believe that everybody's shopping journey is different, and we all have different ways to shop. And what has happened and what we're actually building is a product knowledge graph. So basically a database of all the world's products that hasn't been done before. Google Shopping doesn't have it. When you go into Google Shopping and not every product is in there, it's because they rely on the merchant giving them the information. Whereas we take a completely different approach where we've indexed the web of products, and that way we can surface what you want. So we believe in, how do we build shopping tools for shoppers? That is our mission, is to make shopping better for the shopper, not the merchant. And so we actually see a world in which we can have multiple tools for different shopping journeys. We've just decided to start with one very specific shopping journey, which is you've had a moment where you're like, oh, I need a new blazer, or I need a new toaster because it's blown up. You're like, okay, I might go look on social media, or I might go on Pinterest, have a look at like which blazer should I get, and then you narrow it down, or you might message someone. And we've really focused on the point in which like you have a lot of products that you want to buy, you just don't know which ones. You might want to wait for a sale. You may not necessarily want to purchase it just yet. It might be a repeat purchase. So we've decided on that, to focus on that area. But we believe like there's a big shopping journey that we all go through. So how can we help shoppers with their shopping journey to make a better purchasing decision?
And for Nikki, I mean, we as Vogue sort of sit in that sort of middle place in that journey, as I sort of mentioned before. I mean, like, what are we seeing? What are some of the sort of patterns about like picking up on people's journeys at where they are at any sort of buying stage, and what insights have we got, and how are we, I guess, sort of adapting to them as Vogue, as the shoppers that we are?
I mean, one of the main things we see a lot in digital is like the ecosystem online. So something takes off on TikTok and then search goes up in that product area, or something like Brat Summer comes along and suddenly you see a jump in search for things that are green and lime green. And I think that's something Vogue does very well. It jumps on those zeitgeisty trends really fast, and we report on them. And the other thing we do is we use data to kind of decide what we want to talk about. So sustainability is a big thing at Vogue, and it should be a big thing for everybody. But we do think about, is this a micro trend, or does this have kind of long-term potential to be an idea that stays with our readers? So like the concept of a capsule wardrobe has been for the last kind of 3-4 years growing in popularity. We've seen it with the number of readers we have on content around that. We see that with the type of products people want to buy. They want to buy more sets. They want to buy more collections where they get like a top, a pant, a jacket. So like you see those sort of trends emerge online, and then we obviously report on that. But on top of that, it's kind of just being very agile. I know that's like a very buzzy tech word, but
Throw that up there with AI.
you have to, yeah, we're in the right room. You kind of have to move at the speed of culture. So if culture moves very, very fast, you kind of have to decide, what are we going to report on and jump on and support, and what are we going to kind of ignore and let it, fall to the wayside. So yeah, that would be the main thing, is just the speed of trends and how fast they move, and also just how all these different ecosystems impact shopping in general.
Totally. I do want to leave a little bit of time for questions at the end, so I might ask one more to Holly. So obviously we're in a room where a lot of us are sort of at this sort of point where we're looking towards careers and potentially careers that don't even exist yet. And while, I always thought I would love to be a professional shopper when I grew up.
Still can.
Still can. It's not too late. But sort of what sort of skills in this very new and emerging realm, you've spoken about sort of putting the power back into the hands of consumers, which is, quite novel if you're comparing it to the sort of last data that we've had. I mean, Holly, like what sort of skills can we learn, train up in to sort of prepare ourselves for if a career in this sort of world of shopping is something that interests us?
Well, you're asking someone who only did first year of university. So I think I really got my career going, yes, technically. I actually went around telling people I could build e-commerce stores back in the day, and then I would go home and Google and like go and build a Shopify store. That's how I got into like what I do. So I think it's like you don't necessarily have to have a career, and like I think a lot of the younger generation, I'm definitely showing my age, is that you can learn so much on TikTok. You can learn so much on YouTube. You can learn so much for just doing. And there's a lot of businesses who actually want a younger demographic to do things that they don't know. Like you have a lot of information in terms of your skill set that a business doesn't have and needs. So I think it's just like, how can you match yourself with a business and go and do an internship or go and do some marketing for people that could help you learn, but the business learns as well. So I think it's, I guess it's a real mix of like, where do you want to go? You could go back to university and do a whole nother degree in computer science and data science, but that may not interest you. So it's like, take what you're interested in, take the products that you use today, like TikTok or tech products, and then go and apply that to your skill set.
Well, I might jump into the Slido here, and another one for you, Holly, back to back. If you're able to sort of share, you mentioned a shopping knowledge graph before, without disclosing all of your IP. How does that sort of shopping graph get created for user to user?
That's interesting. It's a bit of secret sauce. That is our tech. That we are first and foremost a tech company, second a shopping company. We will index the web like Google indexes pages. And then we take that information and we basically build out the product information in real time. So the product title, price, and other data that we want. And then we store that and we start to match products. And then over time, we can really understand, a bit like a Facebook graph of friends. It's like, how do we match it with people and other products that you may like? Or even what we were kind of talking about outside is, we all hunt for a deal. We all hunt for a discount. We constantly scour the internet, like, where can I get this? Can I get a cheaper price? Can I get a discount code? Can I, you're constantly looking for the product on another site. So how can we surface that up? So that's what the product graph really focuses on.
Totally. We might leave it there. Thank you very much, everyone. And thank you to my lovely panelists for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks.